Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist. It is Saturday morning. Finally, I love Saturdays. The 22nd of February, 2/22/2020. So again, for you number files out there, run with that. I have got special guest, Atheist News, Steve DiMarco from Atheist News with me. Wait, what? What? He's shaking his head. Good morning. He's joining me today. How you doing, Steven?
What's happening?
Oh, just stuff so far. Just stuff. We've been, y'all just got here. Me and Steven have been talking about everything but sci-fi this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. The trick is to not talk about it before the show starts.
Yeah.
Completely waste the entire conversation, and then once the show starts, just
run with it. Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. We got Critical Cripple Atheist News. Who's that guy? He's kind of creepy. He touches me. Willie Ignorant is here. Cam. There's Paul. Good morning, Paul. How you doing, buddy? Michael Eaglehart. Good morning, Mike. How you doing? Let's see if I missed anybody. Jay was here. I sent Jay an invite. He's welcome to pop in and talk some sci-fi with us. Booleander is here this morning, or was here this morning. Atheist, and a lot of people started showing up really early. I just want to make sure everybody knows Saturdays are a little later than normal. That's awesome. Hey, the first rule of Sci-Fi Club. Good morning, Nerdy Rodent. How are you today?
Pedantic.
What's that?
Booleanator says I'm pedantic.
You're pedantic.
Yeah, so don't make me look that word up.
Right? Booleanator. Okay, well, love at first sight, it sounds like. So apparently he's familiar with your channel. I couldn't help myself. I'm a bad man. So yes, we have Steve DiMarco from the Atheist News channel. Steve, if you don't mind, tell people who you are and what you got going on over there, just in case for those who've never heard of you. And I've got all his links down below, so if you've never heard Steve, go check out his stuff. He's got a lot of content.
And I'll just say, if you want to learn more about my channel, Atheist News, where I report on religion and atheism happening around the world, just check out my previous appearance on the Daily Atheist, which wasn't that long ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago.
That's true. Yep.
So you guys can just go check that out and see what's up if you're not familiar with me or my channel.
Yes. So there you go. So now that we've got all the pleasantries out of the way, good morning. Wait, that's a pleasantry.
Yeah, and we're going to do this now in the form of those edgy debate YouTube videos where, we'll interrupt each other and, argue at length, but, about sci-fi.
That sounds like fun. I was actually going to try to express myself in interpretive dance. Yes. It's kind of hard to go for sci-fi, but it might work. You never know. As long as I keep my clothes on this time.
I think winning Atheist Jeopardy has gone to your head.
It really has, yeah. For those who don't know, I got to toot my own horn. I actually won Atheist Jeopardy by a huge margin. It was huge. It was like massive. They were like, "Please stop, please, Chris, you're kicking our ass, please, please." And I was like, "No, I'm going to kick the ass," and I kicked the ass, and they were like, "Please stop."
No, that's more like when Prophet Azad was on Atheist Jeopardy and he absolutely destroyed the other two.
Well, that's how I remember it anyway. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Godless Engineer was a hoot, and Steve, your patron, he was a lot of fun. So it was a good show. Thank you for having me on.
No problem.
So we're here for sci-fi. So what's your favorite sci-fi? Do you have a specific? Let's start with the favorite, and we'll work our way around that.
I got ready for today's episode of Sci-Fi Saturday, and I brought with me a list of my top favorite video games, TV shows, movies, and comic book characters.
Excellent.
So where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with, because see, you warned me you were a sci-fi guy, so I expected this to be, we may have to have you
what
back.
I used to do on the internet is I used to be administrator for a message board, a forum, and what I used to do is it was a forum that had like hundreds of people on it, and they would send me their top 10 lists of specific topics. Let's say top 10 favorite movies or something like that. Okay. Then I would give points to each one. So if somebody had number 1 as Monty Python and the Holy Grail like I do, then it would get 10 points. Number 2 would get 9 points, and so on and so far. then you add up all the points for each movie and you run a countdown. And it would be like, these are your guys' top 50 favorite movies based on the points.
Gotcha. So
that's how much of a nerd I am.
Totally. Yes. Suck the air right out of the room with that nerdiness. What's your favorite movie? Let's start with your favorite sci-fi movie.
Well, I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. However, I understand that most people would not consider that to be sci-fi.
Right. Well, see, if you're going to consider that sci-fi, then that pulls into question everything you just said about sci-fi. There's a difference between sci-fi.
It can be a pretty broad definition in terms of sci-fi, right. But to be more in the generally accepted versions of sci-fi. My favorite sci-fi movie of all time is Aliens.
The second one. Okay.
Yes.
Me and Jay were just talking about that. That's one of my favorites as well. Yeah. And now, how old are you? Because you're younger. 35. So you're like 13 years younger than me. I'm old. Anyway, Aliens was one of those ones that I saw whenever I was like 11 or 12 or whatever, man. And I was young, impressionable. Love that movie. Loved killing the aliens. Thought they were wonderful.
I grew up very poor, so I didn't see a whole lot of movies growing up. I actually became super into backlogging movies when I became an adult, and I've seen so many movies between the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. And it's all given it a, there's personal favorites that people have. Oh, this is what I watched when I was a kid, so it's still one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. But I have a pretty even, balanced approach to a lot of movies because I saw them all around the same time.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and as I said, in my case, I have some that I'm particularly attached to because they hit me whenever I was young. And then there's some new ones. I was big into Star Trek all my growing up life, but I had a flexible, open mind. Star Trek 2009 came out. I loved it. Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, the second one came out. I watched that. Khan, I was all crying. I went to the theater 4 times and watched that movie. 4 times, not 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 times I went to the theater. I cried like a baby, hungry baby every time. It was wonderful.
Star Trek. About you cried in the remake of 2? Or?
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, the remake of 1 in the Star Trek 2009, like, those of you who have been keeping up, I was like 5 or 6 when I was 5 or 6. I was not alive when Star Trek, the original series, was made. But when I was 5 or 6, my mom made me the Star Trek Captain Kirk shirt. That's how back into it I go. So like the first Star Trek movie, when it opens with Captain Kirk's dad sacrificing his life to save Kirk as he's born, I was just bawling like a baby. My wife's like, "You're crying for Star Trek?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm crying for Star Trek."
To me, Star Trek always had a more complex web and what do you do in this type of situation, for example? So the remake movies didn't hit me as hard. I liked the first one, 2009, and I liked the second one, and I didn't bother watching the third. Because, to me, I loved Next Generation in my top 10 favorite shows, and I loved Voyager. And for me, those remake movies destroyed the universe because that was literally the plot of the first remake, is that, oops, we destroyed all I was like, no.
Yeah. With me, I was able to, because I knew what was going on, I was able to separate. This is just a different universe. I got that. At first, one of the things that made me mad whenever you want to talk about those kind of things is Enterprise. Enterprise did a prequel. They had the whole Romulan War they could have done. And instead of doing Romulan War and sticking with canon and making it just perfectly line up with everything, they decided to do the frickin' Xindi. Who the hell are the Xindi? The Xindi come up, bloom, they cut into Earth, and all of a sudden now we've got this thing. And then the way it ended with frickin' Riker, that was, I hated that. I thought that was horrible.
If I hear
I'm gonna have a stroke, I think.
If I hear bad things about a show, I can avoid them. I've never watched Enterprise because I heard so many bad things about it. So even though I love Star Trek, I avoided Enterprise just because I didn't want my opinion to be lowered.
You're right. Yeah. Real quick, good morning or happy birthday. Happy birthday, Paul. 54 spankings that guy gets today. His ass is going to just be wore out by the time he gets to that one to grow on. Did y'all get the one to grow on? We always got the one to grow on. And you get your how old you are and then one to grow on. I think they just liked hitting us. Anyway, happy birthday, Paul. Yeah, so I'm just checking the chat real quick, brother, to see what's going on. There we go. I don't know what's happening. It was all a blur. So, aliens. Jay and I covered aliens. Did you and I talk about aliens? Have you and I spoken about it? Okay, because I wanted to, what is your thought on the the new remakes, Covenant and whatever it's called? Prometheus, yes.
See, I didn't mind Prometheus as much as a lot of Alien fans did, because I loved how it started with a question and, a yearning for the stars, a yearning to understand, where life on Earth came from. So I didn't mind that too much as a lot of other Alien fans did.
Right.
I liked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, there was
Covenant came along and or whatever was the movie that followed Prometheus was the direct sequel to Prometheus. I just destroyed it again. I was like, we didn't get a new Aliens by the director of District 9, Neil Blomkamp, because they wanted to make Prometheus 2, and it was this garbage.
Yeah, it was not. The graphics, of course, I didn't have a problem with. Love the graphics. I want to just go down here and throw some hate at Math Pig there. I don't see him around, but I like blaming him anyway. I'm sure he's up to something. The first one, the Prometheus, wasn't bad. I too liked the thing, the direction it all went. I liked almost every part about it. I think there were a couple.
I get some of the criticisms about how the scientists and experts they gathered for this were like some of the biggest dopes and idiots.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some of that, and then the second movie. What really got me and what really blew me away, and I've mentioned this before. If you've watched this and you haven't, it's that they land on a planet that has biology on it. There's clearly creatures. I mean, it's a flush planet with life on it, and they get out. They don't ever scan anything. They don't wear any kind of breathing protection, nothing. And then, so that's point A. That's just stupid that they would do that. That's ridiculous. That breaks even science fiction rules. Even in, well, I guess Star Wars does that, but it's it's a different premise. Star Trek does too. Anyway, so they did that, and then they're walking along. They step on this thing. A little spore comes out. Some dude, it gets in a guy's ear or something, and like 5 minutes later, it comes out. It's this freaking long. It's got teeth, and it's got a name. It's graduated college. You know what I mean? It's got its own savings program. That was just ridiculous. They couldn't even walk across a field without this thing going from. Do they not know what's required scientifically to take mass and grow? I mean, I get it, but damn, they could have done better. They did themselves wrong.
Like I said, what really bothered me was how they were planning a direct sequel to Aliens, and they were going to bring back all the characters and pretend like 3 and 4 never happened, which meant that Hicks was still going to be alive. And Newt was still going to be alive, and they were even going to clone Bill Paxton's character and have him back.
Really?
Yeah, but then Paxton wound up dying during the filming of Prometheus 2. Yeah. So who knows if it would have been done in time before he died.
Yeah.
And Neil Blomkamp is a huge Aliens fan, so he would have done the series justice. And then as soon as Ridley Scott was like, you know what? I think I will make a sequel to Prometheus. Fox bent over backwards to make it happen.
Yeah, and I was just disappointed with what we got out of it. That there were some things other people didn't like the way I didn't like the way the whole David thing happened.
Oh yeah, that was what always annoys the hell out of me is for a character to survive, go through all this in the first movie, and then to just be treated like they're nothing in the second movie.
That's right.
And that's exactly what they did with, I can't remember her name, but the main character from Prometheus, and pissed me off so much. And they didn't want to explain what happened to her. Fans had got so upset that they released it on little clips online of it's like, what the hell?
I know. And then they didn't really go into how or what happened with it. You just know that he killed her. I mean, that's it. There's no. Did you ever see not Sci-Fi specifically, but related to that? Did you ever see Iron Eagle back in the days, like 1995?
No. I know Louis Gossett Jr. is in them.
Louis Gossett Jr. was in it. C. Thomas Howell, I think, was in the first one. So they it's the Iron Eagle. He's flying this F-16. He's awesome. It's cool. He survives at the end. It's wonderful. The second movie opens with him getting killed. He's just flying along and he's gone.
And there's several examples you can use with this, like Mortal Kombat 1 to Mortal Kombat Annihilation with Johnny Cage.
I didn't notice that. I didn't know that. Yeah, cool. That's
Johnny Cage. The second one, I get that they recast the actor, so they were like, just kill him before people realize. And I mean, there's been, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 to 4. There was Nancy and her little group that she assembled in part 3, and then in part 4, that little group was treated like they were nothing, just killed off by Freddy.
And then it all brings us back to Aliens 3, where Newt and freaking Hicks just disappeared. They're just they're dead. Shucky darn.
I think Bishop came back for like a cameo or something. Where
it's been so long.
Oh, it was such an insult from Aliens to Alien 3.
So you said that they were going to do.
I met Lance Henriksen, by the way.
I'm sorry.
I met Lance Henriksen.
Oh, really? I bet he's awesome.
He was funny. I was the first person in line, but somebody who worked at the convention got up before me, and she was this pretty girl, about 20. So he's taking pictures with her, and then I come in next, and he's like, "Oh, I go from her to this."
I can't argue with his point there, though. I'm just, I didn't even have to see her. Anyway, we were saying going from 2 to 3 was no good, and then you said they were going to start a new number 3, and just imagine 3 and 4 didn't happen, right. But yet they decided. But wait, they decided to go ahead with the other new Prometheus in those shows. I have subsequently heard that they've retaken up that idea, and they are going to again start with the. That's what I've heard. I just thought I'd let you know. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but
no. But I mean,
it's a cash cow just waiting for them.
There's a problem with that theory, though.
What's that?
Fox doesn't own it anymore.
Well, that may be what may make it happen.
I don't know if Disney has plans for the Alien franchise right now.
Again, there's a cash cow. Of course, Disney got plenty of cash. They are not cash strapped at the moment.
See, out of all the properties Disney bought when they bought Fox, the one that I think nobody's realized, Disney loves making the fans happy. And there's one franchise that they now own that they could make fans very happy, and that's the Firefly franchise.
They could. Yes, absolutely they could. If they're willing to get on the ball. I would appreciate it, obviously, if they would it would have to have the original director. Josh Whedon would have to be, they'd have to bring him back, I believe, to fulfill his, because I don't know, it'd be just like you're saying. They brought in somebody besides Blomkamp and it sucked. That's what's going to happen if they bring in anybody but Whedon to finish.
I think well, the thing is, Neil Blomkamp, he was just a super fan who loved Aliens. So you could do the same thing with Firefly, and as long as Joss Whedon gives like a bullet points of what he wanted out of the sequels, the actors know the characters, like that's not an issue. And I'm not sure if Disney would want to deal with Joss Whedon right now, as erratic as he's been lately. First, he had his messy divorce where he was, that was all dragged out into the open, where he was cheating on his wife like numerous times. And this is a guy who is supposed to be, big on feminine rights, equal rights for women, is cheating on his wife like crazy. So, and then he got attached to Batgirl, and that all fizzled into flames. So I don't know what Whedon's doing right now, but I don't know if Disney wants to deal with it.
I don't know anything about the what'd you call it, Batgirl?
Batgirl.
I hadn't heard of it. Batgirl. Oh, yeah. I hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah, he was supposed to direct a Batgirl movie, but that all fizzled away.
Well, I think I've had 2 experiences that I know of with Josh Whedon, and that would be the Firefly series and the new Avengers movie. Other than that, I don't know. He's got all kinds of stuff. I just really appreciate Firefly. I think it's a wonderful show. I would like to see it taken up again. Whether they'll do it or not, but then of course Wash is dead and Book is dead.
Well, the actor who plays Book is dead anyway. Alan Tudyk, he's got a great relationship with Disney. He's constantly doing Disney movies. So even if my fanfic was, idea was that maybe the government found Wash's body and cloned him, or managed to do something. Because remember, the Reavers came in, and then the government came in right after. Right. So they could have gotten to the body, taken him out, and then,
that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, kind of the way it ended, at least according to the assassin who was after him. I don't remember his name. The actor did a really good job. The secret was out. There was no more need for the government to chase after. And then, of course, the government literally fixed up their ship and helped River and her brother go away.
Right. Well, they had bigger fish to fry at that point.
Yeah, they themselves were getting fried, I think. But that's kind of the deal. Yeah. So that part of it is gone. What I wanted to know about the Blue Hand group, or the Blue Sun.
Well, they got killed in a comic book in between Firefly and Serenity.
Who did what?
The 2x2 Hands of Blue, those two guys, they were killed in a comic book in between Firefly and Serenity. And at the end of the comic book, when they got killed, that's when they called for the agent who was in Serenity.
Right. Okay, cool. That's cool to know. I think what I meant was there has been this long speculation that there's something secret about the Blue Sun group, like they're aliens or they're AI robots, or there's some kind of thing going on. And they even did a shtick on the Big Bang Theory where Sheldon was like, he got to speak to the writer, and he's like, how would it end? And you didn't actually see Josh is on the other end. And he's like, oh, it's a good thing they didn't keep going anyway. And he hung up, because that was one of the things I wanted to know.
Another big factor is I don't think Nathan Fillion's been too interested in ever coming back to it either.
Really? I don't see why
he's always been, like, as soon as Firefly ended, he got Castle, and he did Castle for like forever. Right. So he never needed to think about going back. And now that Castle's over, he's got some new show, The Rookies. Like, he's always got other jobs lined up.
But I mean, have you watched the rapport they had, the fun they had making the show, all those things? I think he would go back for that. It's not about him needing money. He stopped needing money a long time ago.
Well, I think if they threw enough money at him, I'm sure he would do it.
Well, that's probably true. I don't see why not. Yeah, but I mean, of course, it's not. I don't mean that he would leave a current project to go do that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying he would find the time to make it happen if it was coming along.
Well, we're talking about a guy who caused problems in the industry during filming of Castle because he didn't want to work 5 days anymore. He only wanted to work 4 days, and that was a big problem in network.
Yeah. Because those things are workhouses, aren't they?
Yeah, but he got it to happen because what are they going to do? Cancel the show without, so.
And well, I've also like shows like Doctor Who. I've heard one of the reasons why they churned through Doctors so quickly over the last decade and a half or so is because of the work schedule. Some of those actors they weren't willing to go on. It's just too hard. I don't know though. That's what I've heard. We'll see. So let's move on. Favorite video game. Sci-fi, please.
Favorite video game of all time is what a lot of people would say, and a lot of people would also hate, and that's Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII. I just bounce your ass off this channel right now. No, I'm kidding. I don't know any of them. So why would they hate it? Why would you say that? And why would they hate it? Why do you like it? A lot of
backlash towards Final Fantasy VII in that it's overrated. But to me, it has just the most epic storyline, and that's what it all boils down to. And my love of sci-fi is stories, whether it's video games, comic books, movies, TV shows. I love a great story, and science fiction can go in a lot of places that, real life can't.
Right.
And Final Fantasy VII was the first RPG I ever played, a role-playing game. So I was not expecting such a long adventure with these characters and all the struggles they went through, character deaths. It was brutal.
My first experience like that, I think, would have to say was Mass Effect, where they were really long games.
Mass Effect is my number 4 favorite game of all time.
Is it? Is it? Yeah. I mean, I played other games before. I mean, if you wanted to say my favorite game, and this is a good story I got to tell, the favorite game I played the most, if I played the most, would be Sins of a Solar Empire. It's just a strategy game I like to play when I'm stressed. There's so much going on, I can't worry about the real world. I got to keep up with all this stuff over the thing. And one day and this is how long ago, about 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, and I was sitting there playing this game, and I was going to play. I opened the Steam to look and to play the game, and I looked, and it said I had been playing it for like 400 or 600 and some odd hours. That's how many hours I had played this game, and I was like, man, if I had just picked up a musical instrument or anything, I would be able to do something. So I went and actually got a cello, and I started playing the cello. I still played Sins of a Solar Empire after that. Occasionally, I'll still fill it up and play it, but now I can play the cello. So yeah, that was one of mine. I love that game. But then again, I also enjoyed things like Battlefront or Halo. I liked Halo. Halo's got that long story too. Halo was my first person shooter game.
See, here's the thing. I can't play first-person shooter games.
Why is that?
It just doesn't register for me. Like,
You suck at it, is what you're saying.
You're in the eyes of the player, and
Right.
I can't register the game correctly because I don't look around like this.
Right.
Like, if the controller doesn't accurately give you the eyes of a person to me. So I can't react correctly. Like, I read an article one time that something like a quarter of all people who play video games can't play first person because of that. And I have friends who would say the exact same thing. They can't play first person. So only a couple games that are first person I've been able to struggle through because they were so good. And that was the Portal and Portal 2 and the Borderlands series. And I think it's because it's more like animated cartoony graphics.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't, like, it's not as bad for my eyes to adjust to. That's why I appreciate games like Fallout and Skyrim, where the option is there to be either third person or first person.
Right. I played Red Baron 3D for years. That was a good game back to play. I don't know if you ever played any of those kind of flying games. That was one of those that, man, I just played the crap out of it. I have a twin brother, and for 4 years he tried to top me. He's like, man, you got to play this game. I'm like, I was just getting into building computers. I'm like, I'm not building computers for game. I'm building them for porn. So, and then I got down in my back one day and I couldn't go to work. So I was stuck at the house, and I worked in the oil field at the time. So I picked up my controller and started playing this game. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And I started liking it. I called my brother. He lived down in another podunk little town in Texas. I'm like, all right, I'm playing. Let's play. So we played together for like a week, and I took on the moniker Darkwing. So I've been Darkwing ever since. That's what the duck's all about back in the back. Anyway, so about a week after that, him and his wife down in Texas, love you, brother, they lost electricity. They lived in a trailer house with like a cesspool out back, and I mean, it was totally West Texas white trash. And they no longer had electricity, and they didn't care. So for like the next 4 years, I played by myself, and he didn't play. And then we got together. We won the world for one season. We won the Red Baron 3D World Championship. Me and him.
Nerdy wrote it and is trying to trigger me by bringing up the ending to Mass Effect 3.
I actually feel like I think I got a vessel about to burst. I like it. I like the game all the way up to the ending. I just don't like the choices. All right, so you're going to do this, and then like there's no space travel.
Do you know the story behind it all?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the story behind it all?
What do you mean? The whole length of the story? I mean, I did, but it's been a long time, huh?
It was the writer for Mass Effect 1 and 2 was not brought back for Mass Effect 3. Okay. And when it comes to specifically the ending, the producer, Casey Hudson, wrote it himself. And that's why it was garbage. It wasn't peer reviewed. None of the other writers were allowed to see it and say, wow, this is terrible. So that's why it was so disjointed. Plus, the script for Mass Effect 3 was leaked before it came out. So that's why they rewrote it as much as they did. Because do you remember in Mass Effect 2 when you went and recruited Tali on Haestrom, where the planet, where the star was expanding much sooner than it was supposed to? The story was about the reason why the Reapers were cultivating these species and wiping them out was because they were using Mass Effect fields. And in turn, all of these species using Mass Effect fields was destabilizing stars. So that's why they were kind of grooming them to build up and then kill them all off so that the galaxy itself wouldn't explode. And that was what the story was. That's why Haestrom was included, because it was kind of like a weird side mission, like that had nothing to do with anything. And also, Gianna Parasini was in Mass Effect 2, and said after you get done with her little quest, she said, I have to go deal with all this dark matter issues that are propping up, because she was supposed to be involved in Mass Effect 3 regarding that storyline. But because they cut that storyline, she wasn't even in the third.
Right. Okay. Whenever you were asking the question, I didn't know if you were asking if I was if I was familiar with the history within the story, or if I was you were talking about the external things that happened that made. I didn't know what you were asking, so gotcha. I didn't know that was why it had changed. I just knew that 1 and 2 are really good. 1's a little long-winded. like whenever you're on the planet looking for stuff and you're driving around, that takes way too long. They fixed that in 2. Yeah, it could be all right, but they fixed it in 2. 2 is really good. 2, I could do it in full 4K or whatever. It was really great, and I could adjust all the things to where everything looked great on the screen. It was wonderful. 3, a newer, more advanced game, I could not do that with. And then 3 had this stupid storyline of her seeing these imaginary things and losing her mind or whatever. That was just not part of what had happened before. I see what you're talking about. The differences were stark. I still played it through.
I will say that the gameplay got better as each game came along.
I like the second one. I like the second one as far as gameplay. And the reason why I say that is only because primarily I played the second one more, because the third one wouldn't do the kind of 3D. I have several ultra high def monitors that I had bought to play games with, and when it wouldn't do it, I was like, I'm gonna go play something else that will.
See, the reason why Mass Effect 1 edges out Mass Effect 2 as far as being I like one more than the other is because I thought Mass Effect 1 had much better decisions to make in terms of you have to either kill the Arachnite Queen or let her go. You have to save either Ashley or Caden. You have to manage Rex as best as you can. I thought the decisions in Mass Effect 1 in terms of the overall story was better, which is why I liked the first one better. Plus, it was a lot more gritty sci-fi, like similar to what Battlestar Galactica, the remake, was originally, like very gritty, very grainy. And then in Mass Effect 2, it became very colorful and bright and stylistic,
I really liked that one, though. Sorry, but I like both. I was talking about somebody has a comment here. Great Dane says they just came from your latest atheist news video, including walking sharks found.
That's the science news video I uploaded this morning.
That's awesome.
Once a month, I do a science news on everything that happened in the world of science in the previous month. So that 4 new species of walking sharks were discovered.
Wow, that's crazy. Who'd have thought, right? Well, I guess I need to go watch your latest video.
They were found on accident. Yeah, they were. They thought there was only one species of walking shark still alive, so they went to investigate them to find out when they evolved from other sharks. What time frame. And when they were looking for these things, they wound up finding 4 more species. So
really,
it's like, wow.
That's crazy. I had no clue. Let me just get this over here going. Sorry, pardon me. Oh, there we are. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. That's interesting.
There was a lot. Like I break it up into archaeology, paleontology in the first segment, then space in the second, nature in the third, and medicine in the fourth. So, like in space, last month they discovered a huge wave-shaped structure that's like 7,000 light years long in the Milky Way galaxy. So it's this massive filament that's like in an arc. It's really bizarre.
I'd have to watch your show. I hadn't watched it. I don't know why. I thought I had you on notifications there. But somebody here was mentioning in the chat about Knights of the Old Republic. I have to out myself. I've never played Knights of the Old Republic. I'm not going to play Knights of the Old Republic. No time soon.
They're apparently going to bring it back in terms of, I don't know if they're going to remake it or make a third.
Gotcha. Well, it's not necessarily that whether they make it or not. It's just I don't have time right now. All of my time goes into this. I've got things coming up. I can't even play my own video games. I should create a Twitch channel, and so I can take a break every now and then, pop over and play a video game, and continue working while I'm. You know what I mean?
Like I said, I have a full-time job. I have a wife and a 3-year-old, and I have Atheist News. So I have no time to play games anymore. I bought Red Dead Redemption 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Witcher 3, and I yet to really play them.
Yeah. Yep, totally. Absolutely. The only time I normally would get to play some games, me and the wife, she likes watching me play video games. So we'll get Tomb Raider, for example, and I'll play Tomb Raider, and she'll come at night, we'll eat our dinner, and then we'll sit down and we'll play Tomb Raider, or I'll play Tomb Raider and she'll watch. And then we'll just do that every night, for a couple hours a night until I beat the game. She loves doing that. Again, with the work going on now, we sit over there and we might watch a show on one downstairs on the TV. I got 2 monitors, and one will have the show going, and on the other monitor, I'll be working.
See, my wife, on the other hand, if I even attempt to start playing a game, it's, why aren't you doing something around the house? Or why aren't you spending time with our daughter? And it's like,
Gotcha. Oh, hey, Great Dane was answering the question
Happy
about
birthday,
the
Great Dane, for all the birthdays you missed.
all those spankings. There's the spankings you should get. Actually, it was Paul who had the birthday today. Happy birthday again, Paul. But Great Dane was saying, as a former Jehovah's Witness, not only did I not get one to grow on, but they never got a happy birthday at all. So, yeah, happy birthday again for all those that you missed, like he said. Let's see. Nerdy Rodent once taught on 1 hour of sleep because of, or it wasn't Nerdy Rodent. It was Julie LaVoice. Once taught.
Suck you in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love a good game. Again, if it weren't for all the things I've got going on, here's the deal.
I take a vacation, starting with Mass Effect 2, and then Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. Like in Skyrim, I would take a vacation from work and just play it.
Okay.
Right? And that way, I could just keep playing and playing and playing, and not have to worry about going anywhere.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this question. This is not a woo question. This is a legitimate question, even though it may seem kind of like woo, but Easeism works. Ease wants to know, could you ask Atheist News if he knows if NASA observed a cube near our sun return?
Didn't hear anything about it.
I haven't heard nothing about that either. Yeah, I hadn't heard nothing about that.
Probably the weirdest thing in the past couple of years was Oumuamua, the obelisk asteroid.
Yeah, they came in from another solar system.
Not only did it come in from another solar system, but it randomly diverted itself into a different direction as it left. So it was very strange. Not to say it is extraterrestrial in origin, but it's certainly the weirdest thing that ever happened. And then for the second time, I think in December, another asteroid from outside the solar system came in, but it behaved very much like a normal one. So
gotcha. Yeah, a normal one. Well,
solve.
One of my deals is that I believe in extraterrestrial life. I say that I'm gonna plant my flag here, okay? If I want to die on a hill, this is the hill I'm gonna die on.
1 second, Nerdy Rodent Dragon Age 2 was a game.
Oh, okay. I'll let y'all fight that out. I've never played it. But in my mind, there's just so many billions and trillions and blah 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 planets. Bound to be life out there somewhere, intelligent even somewhere, bound to be. Just the numbers say it really kind of ought to be. Or at least there have been. Or there, you know what I mean? It's not like we're the only thing. That's kind of arrogant just to think we're the only thing. Anyway, but I can't say I know that for sure. All I can say is I believe that based on the numbers there are. Different question. Do I believe these things are coming to our planet? I'm going to need some evidence on that. I believe they're out there.
Yeah.
But whether or not they're going to fly all that way so they can rip the lips and assholes off of cows and probe rednecks over in southern Texas that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'm in the same boat. I believe it's highly likely there is other life out there. However, I believe it's very unlikely that they would ever make it to our solar system, let alone know of our existence. And secondly, I don't think it would be like anything we comprehend as life, possibly. It could be crystalline based. It could be, based on magnetic waves. Who knows?
Yeah. Those things are all interesting, but I'm just going that somewhere out there's bound to be this kind of life, not human, but our normal organic kind of life. What's that?
Organic life? Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? But there's bound to be something. But again, the point is that the odds that these things are coming here or whatever. I mean, it's just, I find that really odd. It may be possible. It may be that there are so many different kinds of life out there. They're everywhere and they're just skipping right by us. Who knows? But you're going to have to convince me that they're coming here. That's what I would need to be convinced. I believe they're out there. Are they coming here? That's what I'd need convincing of.
Just the necessary components to make it from point A to point B make it unlikely. There's no warp speed.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And the likelihood are of them being within a reasonable distance to be able to reach us within a life. You know what I mean? But like being on the next star over, that's so we're going, gee, I don't know if there's life in the entirety of the entire galaxy or universe.
Did you hear about Project Starshot?
I don't think I have, I guess.
Tell me about it. Before Hawking died, he announced a partnership with a Russian investor where they were going to build tiny little microchips, attach them to a laser, and shoot it. And they were going to build a ton of these chips to basically shoot it. And it would only take, because of how fast the laser can travel, it would only take 30 years to get there, take pictures, and then send it back to Earth. But it was going to take like another couple decades to get the technology worked out to make it happen as well.
Yeah, that's some crazy. I mean, that's some crazy technology.
Yeah, look it up, Project Starshot.
That's interesting, though. That's cool. I mean, that would be interesting. Yeah, I see some people agreeing. I got to put my eyes on here. Let's see. Dark Star Approach. Anu didn't allow Enki to build Atlantis. See, I knew that. We were just saying. Coronavirus is a conspiracy to sell Corona beer. I thought it was to stop selling Corona beer. Ignoring us until we develop warp drive. There's that comment. I've heard that before.
Contact.
Yeah, there's different notions about that kind of thing. It just kind of depends. I'm hopeful that there's a whole bunch of different kinds of life out there, and then we can find other cultures and music and, hot alien chicks to bang. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Just go with it. That's the plan. But the likelihood is so tiny. It's so.
I kind of like the message of that movie, Contact, where it was like, you're not ready to talk to us, but just know that you're not alone.
That's not a bad message. I enjoyed that message. I didn't like the way they did it with her dad and all that. Show me a freaking alien. That's what I want. Especially in the event, in the case that
people out of the movie.
No, but I mean, in her story, she's not going to, it's like it all happened in a fraction of a second. Nobody believes her that it really happened. So why not show her what a freaking alien looks like? She's going to be the only one who knows.
I think it would have been acceptable to show like a glimpse of it. Like it had taken down the barrier for just a moment before it turned away from her or something. But
maybe
if it was like this huge tentacle monster talking to her, it would have been like, yeah. In terms of a movie that made it so that you saw the creatures, but it didn't take you out of the movie, that would be that Nicolas Cage movie, Knowing, where they were like jellyfish creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. There are parts of that one I enjoyed. That was pretty good play. Nerdy Rodent wants to point out that my method is like the James T. Kirk approach to Alien First Contact. First contact with STDs. To boldly go everywhere.
That's why I like a series like Mass Effect that went into the details of different species would have different immune systems and not be able to handle it correctly, and different genetic codes such as the Turians and Quarians having different based aminos or something, dextroaminos, so they couldn't process it the same.
Right, absolutely. Before I want to mention to everybody that I am going, or we are going to have Nick Fish next Wednesday on the show. I keep forgetting to say this. We're going to have Nick Fish next Wednesday on the show, and he is the president of American Atheists. Is going to be joining us next Wednesday at 7:00. Where he's going to join us for the 7:00 hour or the second hour. We're going to have a 2-hour show. He's going to be here for the 2:00 hour. Also, it looks like I am going to Arizona for the National American Atheist event that's going on out there April 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I will be out there at a YouTuber's booth, doing things at the place with the stuff.
All right.
So I'm going to be.
Here's the deal. When you have Nick Fish on the show next week, try not to get nervous and make a bunch of fish-related puns.
I will try. I will. Yes. Well,
here's my catch of the day, Nick Fish, and then Wayne's World cringes.
I've heard Nick Fish is really, really fun to work with. That's what I've heard. Nick, if you're watching, don't.
I've never talked to him personally, but I know based off interviews and stuff, he's a very personable guy.
Yeah, I've heard he's pretty easy to work with. So he's pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And then, but one of the reasons why they're coming on is because of the event going on in Nevada. So if you're in the Southwest, or if you can make it to the event down in Nevada, you really should go. Nevada. If you can make it over there, Phoenix. No, it's in Arizona. What kind of? Oh man, the Arizona, the Nevada thing is today. It's the Nevada caucus that's going on today. I'll be okay. It's in Arizona. It's in Phoenix. It's in Phoenix, Nevada. Phoenix, Arizona, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
I mean, you can take a helicopter ride from Vegas to LA. So
yeah, there you go. So Phoenix 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. They're having the American Atheist big shindig. Lots of people are going to be out there. I'm going to be out there. I'm actually going to run a GoFundMe campaign. to help with the expenses of traveling out there. They're gonna because I'm going to be at the YouTuber table, that automatically gets me waived the fees of being part of the show. So that's wonderful. And I get to live stream from there and all that, but I got to foot my own bill going that way. Hotel, gas, that kind of thing. And for anybody who knows, me and I'm jobless as of this week. So it's not, one of those things. It's just going to be a challenge.
And I'll be at Faithless Forum, although not as a guest or anything. I'm just
right. Oh, you're going to when is the Faithless Forum? What dates? I forget the dates.
It's in June, but I don't remember the exact dates.
Yeah, June. I'd like to get there too, but it's just so far away, and I don't think I'm gonna be. If it weren't for this one here, huh?
I'm coming from New York,
right?
To Austin, Texas.
That's a far way away.
Well, I mean, it's like the first atheist convention I'm going to. So,
really,
yeah.
As much as you've been doing this is your first one.
Well, I never get invited anywhere. I'm the biggest loser of the atheist YouTube community.
Well, I didn't want to say that. Yeah, so I'm going to be going there. So look for that, and I'll be shilling my stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be shilling their stuff. I'm going to be putting links to the American Atheist stuff. So if you're close and you want to go join us and have fun. We're going to have fun. It's 4 days, not 1 or 2 or 3, 4 days. Wow. So go join us. It's going to be fun. And then, of course, next week we're going to have Nick Fish on. We're also going to have – we're trying to lock down a gentleman. I forgot his name. But they've got some stuff going on over in – I think it's Tennessee. They're trying to push through this bill or a law to make it a law to where people can deny you medical care because of your transgender or whatever. So nurses, doctors – yeah, something. So they're going to be on the show next Tuesday talking about that. Again, on the 7 o'clock hour, not the 6 o'clock hour. I'm trying to keep the 6 o'clock hour nice and fun and light. And we're just going to add another hour and bring on our American Atheist friends and start doing that with them. So that is part of my evil plan of doom and despair. So thank you for letting me shill. Now, if you don't mind, we talked about movies. We talked about video games. What's next?
There's TV shows and comic book characters.
Okay, all right. Let's go to comic book characters, and then we'll circle back and just top it off real quick.
All right, my favorite comic book character is someone that nobody else has a favorite one of, and it actually has to do with my childhood. That's Banshee of the X-Men.
Banshee, huh? Okay.
Because when I was a kid, when I first got into comics was because I watched the X-Men cartoon, and when I started watching it in the early 90s, they were doing the Phoenix Saga, which Banshee was in. I thought he was really cool. And then I had a heart murmur when I was a kid. I was in the hospital. And as it turns out, it was because I was malnourished. Like, I wasn't being fed to the point where my heart was failing me.
Really? Wow.
So my parents were like trying to make it up to me, I guess, in a way, by actually paying attention to me. Because I was one of 6 kids, and I was the middle kid, so I had massive middle child syndrome. But considering I had a heart murmur due to malnutrition, I actually was being ignored.
Yeah. That's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
As a result, for like 2 weeks, they paid me attention, and they got me some X-Men comics because I watched the X-Men cartoon. So they're like, oh, he likes this. Here you go. And at that same time was the Phalanx Covenant, also with the main character being Banshee. So that's the reason why he's been my favorite. And he's been done badly. The past 2 decades, he has been treated horribly. They turned him into a villain, and then they killed him off, and then they brought him back to be a villain again twice. And then they finally brought him back again recently, but only kept him around for a year and then killed him again.
Make up a new character. Just create a new character. Quit abusing
Banshee's not a whole lot of people's favorites. So he's like the expendable one for the sake of a story.
Yeah. Sounds that way. Poor Banshee. Now I need to get a poor Banshee hashtag going. Yeah, all right. So now let's go to TV shows, because that's where most of my interest lies. TV shows.
My favorite TV show of all time, and yes, it is science fiction. It's right in the name of it. Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's nothing not science fiction about that. Absolutely. Somebody made a suggestion. I think it was Ease. Ease, was that you the other day who made the suggestion I should have episodes where I critique or pull on a Mystery Science Theater, talk about Mystery Science Theater or something like that. So, but to be honest, I got to again out myself. I've never really seen any of them. I've seen chunks of them on.
It ran for 10 seasons. and it had a movie, and then it came back in a couple of years ago for a Netflix show that ran for 2 seasons. And basically, you can watch episodes on YouTube. Like it's not a big deal to catch up on it.
Yeah.
And it basically they just watch a bad movie and make fun of it the whole time. And there's little host segments in between to try and break it up. And the host segments aren't really that hilarious or anything, but they said they originally came up with the idea so that you weren't watching a bad movie for 2 hours straight. So it's just something to lighten up the mood a little bit, especially during some of the really bad movies. But they crack jokes throughout it, and nothing's made me laugh more in my life than some of these episodes. But on a more serious note, my favorite sci-fi drama, I guess you could say, is Angel.
Angel. So I've never seen Angel or Buffy. Never seen either one of them. I'm aware of them. I was aware of them when they were coming out. When they were going, but it just never. I've never been into vampires, and
they kind of created their own universe in terms of vampires and what they were like and things like that. So, and
but then they all do, right?
Original baby, the Buffy and Angel are Joss Whedon's what he became famous for, and it's the reason why he was chosen to direct the Avengers. When at that time he was like, "What? Nobody? You're having him?" It's because he had the ability to juggle several characters well and make it very snappy and funny while also heavy drama. And that's what Buffy and Angel were like, and that's why Avengers turned out so well. Is because of Joss Whedon and what he could do with a cast of characters like that.
Heaven forbid he be brought back to redo Firefly. I know.
Anyway, break it down. The thing is, when they want the bad publicity, when people point out, his.
Bad publicity. I didn't even know about it. And how many directors out there have bad publicity? I mean, it's not that big a deal. His publicity isn't that bad.
He's under a bigger microscope because he was supposed to be all about women's rights and female power with Buffy. So that's why he's under such a bigger microscope that, hey, he was cheating on his wife apparently for like over a decade with young, impressionable actresses. And, so it kind of made him a bit of a hypocrite.
Well, that's kind of funny that you wouldn't see that from Joss Whedon just to look at him.
No, absolutely not.
You wouldn't think so. But then again, you can be all for women's rights and women equality and have an affair. Those two are not related. They're neither related nor are they mutually exclusive. Yes,
he's also a really adamant atheist. He's what's known as an absurdist, which is not only does he not believe, he believes that the idea of a God out there is absurd.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So he's always been supporting atheist causes over the years.
I may be an absurdist and just didn't know it.
Yeah. He's like one of his direct quotes is an old guy with a long white beard who looks like a dad. That's absurd.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah. Well, my deal, even in my series on the deal is I'm more against the notion of the God of the Bible specifically. People like to go, oh, well, there's this like the universe is blah, 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 blah. It's not the God of the Bible. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, again, there was the reason that why the God of the Bible is both represented as a person in terms of he walked in the Garden of Eden in one, and in another, he's very omniscient and kind of ethereal, is because it was two different gods from two different Jewish holy books, Elohim and Yahweh, and it kind of merged. That's why in different early chapters of the Bible, he's still referred to as Elohim as opposed to Yahweh or God.
I'm aware, but most people don't think about it like that. They don't sit down there and think, oh, I want to worship Yahweh today, the one who's physical, and Elohim, the one who's... They don't think about it that way. Today, God is God.
And the reason why he looks so much like Zeus is because Greece actually invaded the Middle East and brought their gods and goddesses early on, and they built up temples to Zeus with his image. And then when the Jewish people took their lands back, they just left it up. That's God. Yeah. That's why Zeus and the Abrahamic God look so similar.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It does. It wouldn't be the first time. Well, it might be the first time. We just don't know it's the first time because all the rest of the times that they stole something from another religion. Yeah, they're all about stealing stuff from religion. Totally. Got it. Yep. I'm just saying that whatever that is, whether it's imaginary, real, physical, not physical, whatever is described in the Bible, the creature and or creatures, without wanting to lead into the historicity of those creatures, is not real. That's what I believe. Now, if there's some if the universe, like the whole, everybody's got this deism notion that the universe is something bigger than me that I don't understand. I don't know. I don't believe in that. I don't know. I don't see that as, I don't think about that. That's not a thing. I don't care. It's this monster that's going to follow me around and watch me every time I masturbate. That I don't believe in. That's I'm
the type of atheist who just says, "Show me proof." Otherwise, I'm not going to believe you.
At least they could do is throw me some ones or something, right?
Show me some
proof. Put a one in my G-string.
Real evidence, not just philosophical crap.
Well, yeah, they could do that too. But I was thinking about the strip. Yes, sir. But yeah, you kind of get what I'm saying. You know, I just don't think those things are. But I think that it makes good sci-fi when gods are applied in sci-fi. Stargate, love some Stargate. I got my own sci-fi that I've written. Same thing. It was not the same thing. You know what I mean?
In Buffy and Angel, they deal with the whole heaven and hell as being different dimensions in terms of their alternate dimensions that have different time frames. So one character gets sent to hell at the end of season 2, and in the beginning of season 3, he comes back. But for him, 100 years in hell had passed. So it was any type of show that dives into it, Supernatural dives into it heavily in terms of using these fictional characters to create their own stories and create their own universe with it. I think is really cool because fiction is malleable. You can do pretty much anything you want with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell a good story, awesome. But believing it's real? No, I don't go around thinking Supernatural is real.
No, yeah. Hey, Matt Pig showed up. Hi, Matt Pig. Good morning. It's actually, I think it's afternoon for Matt Pig. Good afternoon, Matt Pig. We're almost done here, wrapping it up. And let me see. Urban showed up. Let me see who else is here. We had a few people come in.
Sorry, we've been talking so much we haven't really looked at.
I know. I've been abusing my folks over in the chat. I'll be watching the show later, and I'll go, oh yeah, they asked a question. So
they made a really good point, and I'm sure they were annoyed that it wasn't called out.
yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, there's a lot to go on as far as the sci-fi, and so we'll have to have you back on again in the future for more sci-fi if you're not against it. When you have, I think your job.
Yeah,
when you're not on
Saturday, I work. Like it changes every week.
Yeah, so maybe one of these future Saturdays we'll get you on. Next Saturday we're going to have Steven Tiger. Would you? For those of you who are familiar with him, he was on Neil's the 604 Atheist Deconversion show last week, and he's actually going to be our special guest next Wednesday, and we're going to meet him and learn about him. And then next Saturday he's going to be on and guest host, and that's going to be fun. We're going to have a hoot. He's another one of those. He probably hasn't. He even told me he hasn't seen anything sci-fi since like The Next Generation. So he doesn't know really much about anything. That's fine.
Oh man, he's missed so much.
I know, but he's one of those older gentlemen, so he's got a lot of the older classic sci-fi.
Well, it's like when I met my wife, I made her watch so much crap because she never watched anything.
See, me and the wife are doing that too. She knew Harry Potter, and then I tried to get her into sci-fi. So we started with the SG-1, which is a bad move because the first movie is kind of dated, and if you're not really into that sort of thing, it was hard to get through the first movie. And then that was a bad taint in her mouth, and she didn't care for the rest of the series. It was hard. We never watched all of it.
Did you say it was a bad taint in her mouth?
Whatever. You know what I mean? Taste. I mean, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to put a taint in somebody's
Let's not dwell on it. Let's move on. Let me finish my sentence. I enjoy finishing my sentences. So they put a bad taste in her mouth. She didn't want to do the sci-fi because of that. And then we did Battlestar Galactica, the new series, and that helped crack the. But the next. Stargate just could not do it.
See, Battlestar Galactica, me and my wife watched after I had already watched it, I think, like twice through, and she got into it. And as it turns out, Battlestar Galactica was unique among sci-fi shows in that its audience was almost a 50-50 split between male and female.
Right, and they did a wonderful job with that show. But because of that, like you say, the nature of the show that attracted the woman sci-fi nerd, I guess, that helped bring the sci-fi nerd out in my wife. We've since seen Farscape. We've seen Josh Wheaton's When We Talk Firefly. We watched Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. We were going through Enterprise right now, and then we got interrupted by Orville. That's how into it I've gotten her. I've made this poor woman watch all this sci-fi. But she loves it now.
It's a great show. I love it.
The Orville. Yeah, we have. I think we have one last episode to watch.
And then season 3 will be on Hulu at some point. It's not coming back to TV.
Yeah, I've heard it's not gonna. But somebody picked it up. I just. I meant somebody. Doesn't matter who. Just somebody found they didn't get canceled like they've
Right.
because I heard they were going to get canceled. Then somebody picked them up. Hulu, and hopefully they'll make a show.
Hulu is partially owned by Fox, so they were like, we don't want to bring the show back, but we could put it on Hulu.
That's however it works. As long as they get to keep making us some more stuff, I really enjoy that. There's parts of it I like and parts of it I don't.
To me, it's more of a Star Trek show than other Star Trek shows.
I've heard that. I believe I have just as much Star Trek cred as anybody, and I disagree. It's not. It's close, but it's not. It's not.
Well,
it's more Star Trek than Enterprise. I can go there.
Like the episode where they came upon that ship, where it was like people were inside the ship, but they didn't know they were on a ship. They thought they were on a planet, and an episode like that in terms of the morality, do we tell the people that they're not actually on a planet, that they're on a floating ship? I think Liam Neeson was at the very end of the episode recording. So you know which one I'm talking about. But to me, that was like extremely a Star Trek episode right there, just with fart jokes.
Right. And that's part of what pulls me out of the whole thing. We watched there's the one with the lady, they meet it's 700 years in the future, or every time the planet comes and goes, the planet disappears. And so it appears she goes down there. I'm not going to talk to anybody. The first thing she does is run into somebody. They fall down. Does she just run away and let them leave them? I mean, it's just a little kid who just fell down. Kids fall down all the time. No, she goes down there and heals her with this magic thing. Does absolutely everything possibly wrong with the first contact situation with anything you do. And then that was stupid. I like the overall story and how it went and how the culture managed to adjust anyway. And the ending, I appreciate the visuals are beautiful. That was just dumb. There's just so many parts of that show that are dumb like that really pull me out of it. I got used to the humor sometimes. I really enjoy some of the humor. Sometimes I laugh my ass off. That one time, Kelly says, it's going to sound like I'm talking out of my ass. And Isaac goes, then please enunciate. I just laughed so hard. I thought that was hilarious. Wonderful stuff. But other times it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
Well, what they went through with Isaac, I mean,
that was wonderful.
What they had to kind of fix by the end of it was like you wanted to tell this story, but you made it so that the ramifications of that story were a little light.
Yeah. Well, Isaac actually is one of my favorite characters. Isaac and
I wasn't
Gordon.
expecting the twist with him.
No. I haven't seen the last episode. So if there's something in the last episode, I haven't seen.
I don't.
Yeah. I just remember that Isaac, he was like made after. He was made a little different. I wondered why he was the only one we ever saw who was blue and all the rest of them were red.
I think it was because he was like given a different program and maybe blue they figured was a more pleasant color than red or something. Perhaps,
yeah. Then we saw orange and yellow. We saw lots of aggressive colors. Yeah. We never saw any blues or greens.
I remember an episode of Scrubs where Ted was given a red tie and everybody wanted to punch him.
Because of his tie. Somebody asked who, I don't really know. Who wrote the short story with that premise? The universe is 5 miles long. I don't know. I've heard things like the entirety of our universe is actually possibly within a black hole of somebody else's universe. There's lots of tinkerings whenever it comes to stuff. Orville is Trekkie. Yeah, I get it. Orville. I mean, obviously, they're clearly a knockoff of Trek. There's no doubt.
It's more of an homage. I mean, McFarlane is a massive Star Trek fan.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I'm just saying that now. Again, whenever it comes to like, there were some things about Discovery that I didn't like, that I didn't care. Yeah, I say I didn't like, but it is what it is. But I could agree that the Orville is more like Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager than the rest of the Star Treks that have come out. Absolutely, we can all hug and agree on that. But that it's more Star Trek than Star Trek is, I guess, obviously it can be. It's just that specific one. Any of the rest of the Star Trek that goes out of that become not really Star Trek. I just still, I don't know. I'm just keep banging on Enterprise, and we're watching Enterprise now. I'm trying not to talk bad about it in front of the wife because I don't want to taint her opinion of the show. That kind of taint, brother. Yeah. So that. I just don't want to. I want her to come away from it thinking differently. The reason why I didn't like it was X, Y, and Z. And I was watching the show as it was coming out. I'm like, another 3-episode arc. Why can't you just do an episode at a time? Is a 2 or 3 episode? By the time they ended the 4th season, they're doing 3 and 4 and 5 episode arcs. I'm like, son of a bitch. I told my little brother we were watching. I'm like, this show is not going to last. I knew it was not going to last. I wish I'd had internet back then, or I did. But I mean, like all this, I'd make a note. I'd write it down right here. I said it's not going to last, and it didn't because it just sucked. It got to where it sucked. It was like, oh, great, another 3 or 4 episode arc. You can't just. Well, the beauty of Star Trek is you watch Star Trek, and it's like almost everything at the end of the episode is back to the way it was at the beginning of the episode. That's kind of how they all were, with subtle. I'm sorry.
Self-contained stories.
But with this one right here, it just kind of wasn't the same. It just, again, wasn't Star Trek. Again, I could actually agree that Orville is more Star Trek-like than that Enterprise.
You could probably blame shows like Buffy, which introduced a more serial story style to sci-fi. And shows like Doctor Who in the remake, not remake, but when they came out with Doctor Who again for this generation, Russell T. Davies explicitly said, I'm making the show to be like Buffy.
Well, see, I need to go back. There's an order in which I need to watch the Doctor Who shows. The whole plan is to work hard on something like this until you get it working, and then you don't have to work so hard on it. You can relax. And once I hit that point, I'm going to catch up on some games and some shows. And one of those shows is going to be the new Doctor Who. I'd really like to see the new chick Doctor Who, but I want to start out within the proper order. Somebody said there's a proper order to be watched, and I want to watch it in that proper order. Hey, there's Best Name Ever. Hi, I'm Best Name Ever. It's good to see you, Krista. Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon for her. Let me see here. It was Generation Ship Story. It was a Generation Ship Story. There are things about Orville that are indeed truly, like you said, it's an homage to Star Trek. Can you imagine being him, a Star Trek fan, and you got the money and you got the power and you can create your own Star Trek?
Project.
Hell yeah. What gets me is how they were able to do it and not get sued, not get their asses sued off.
As long as you make it similar but not exactly the same, it don't matter.
I don't know. Ship in space, everybody has different uniform. I mean, the similarities are just, man, they're pushing.
I base it off the Navy.
Yeah. Does the Navy separate rank by color? Does it separate
I don't know.
Job skill by color?
Plus, I don't think
absolutely,
Paramount's not going to sue them over that just because they're not. That's really bad press, first of all, and secondly, they would probably lose. They would probably lose that lawsuit.
Yeah, they might. Paramount's also one of the worst, as far as I've heard. About like if you try to do a review of a Star Trek something on YouTube.
Before they even started the Orville, I'm sure they had a team of lawyers dissecting everything they could and could not do.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Well, I get it. I'm glad they made it happen. Even though there's parts of the show I kind of don't care for, there's a lot of it I do really enjoy. The graphics are fantastic. We watched the scene where the Kaylon battle where they were attacking Earth, and that was almost Star Wars big cinema movie quality battle scenes. That was awesome. I really loved. And then anytime they do anything where they look outside the ship, the technology they've got today is just beautiful. They make it look wonderful. It's just sometimes the story lags.
I get season 1 was very much trying to merge Family Guy and Star Trek in terms of the humor and the drama and everything. Yeah. But season 2, it really kind of evened out a lot better. And then my favorite ongoing storyline in the Orville has to do with that super religious race that they're with. I think that is a great story because Seth MacFarlane is a famous atheist. One of the reasons why he loves Star Trek is because it's very non-religious. In the future, there is no more religion. So
that's right.
That's why he, in the Orville, is exploring the idea of going against a race that is super religious. Right. I can't remember the name of them, but
the Krill.
The Krill, and that's why he has that like sort of bizarre love story with that one Krill woman.
Yeah, which was interesting. I thought that was. See, that's one of the things I really appreciate about that is that he is an atheist, and they are ultra religious, and he's not painting them to be as bad as he could. He's actually they're listening now. They had talks. They helped save. So
yeah.
I mean they're actually willing to talk. The religious people on our planet who were as religious as they are wouldn't have cared. They would have murdered, death, killed everybody first opportunity they got. I mean, 5 million dead right after the Catholic Reformation in the wars in France. It takes nothing to get these people killing each other. So I find it hard but that's one of the things to his credit. He gives them that, wagon train in space. Yeah. Didn't do.
It was kind of subversive. He was trying to sell the show. I mean,
yeah. True enough. But I get it. It's just, I do appreciate that they did it and the differences are good. I have my own little sci-fi story that, I mean, it's not that close. It's not nowhere like that, but I wouldn't want to, I have ships in space, a Navy in space in my story. I wouldn't want to not be able to tell that story just because of X, Y, and Z. So I'm grateful to people like McFarlane who ride those lines and keep it cool, just because. All right, guys. Thank you, Steven, for joining me on today's show and talking sci-fi with me. And you're really into the sci-fi. See, now we got to schedule another day. When you get a day off, we have to pick a specific subject. And right now, because we're watching the Orville, I'm powerfully passionate about it, but I got to save all that goodness for Dr. Kyle. Dr. Kyle's probably going to come on soon and we'll talk. Anyway, there's lots of sci-fi we could talk about though. So we'll pick something. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you everybody in the chat. I guess that's it. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you.